go.
I'm like multitask mode.
Okay. Chair McLaughlin, we are ready if you want to start.
Oh, okay. So we can go ahead and start at approximately 6:03. If we can go ahead and start with roll.
Jonathan Stone.
Here.
Cindy Toll.
Here.
Derek Metzen and Bob Seward are absent, and Chair McLaughlin.
Here, so we have a quorum. So this is a work session. I call to order. So discussion items.
Yeah, we have.
Is
one
this where we
public-
do
one public comment
this?
this evening.
Not on the agenda. Oh, I got two.
So I did not put it on the agenda, but this is the time to take public
Oh,
comments.
Renee's here.
Oh, well, isn't that perfect? To take public comments not on the agenda. We have a pretty full schedule tonight, but I know
We do.
Mr. Edgar wants to talk about a future
Sure.
discussion item.
So Paul Edgar,
He can have
we
3
can give you,
minutes.
but our items are full, but we can give you a few minutes.
That'd be
real quick.
wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay.
The reason why I'm here is because of this Historic Preservation League of Oregon document, i.e. Restore Oregon. And because of their wording in there, when you go to the second page, it starts talking about the purpose of the Preservation Roundtable, and it was that they were outlining principles for infill in National Register historic districts like Kenema. And so they say there's 123 of them in the state of Oregon. And so then I went on to pages 8 and 9 of their document, and I took the principles that they laid out and tried to put them on one page. And I didn't add anything. I didn't try to change any of the wording. I tried to keep it pretty consistent with exactly what they said. And so on that second to last page of the stapled stuff that I gave you, you get into the discussion, like point 1 that is here. The Kenema, when they said National Register District, so I put in the word Kenema, is significant as a collective whole and should be protected in its entirety. A new infill construction, number 2, should be respond and protect to the integrity of the overall historic district, much the same way as an addition does to an historic building. 3, the National Register status of Kenema is the primary source for the district's significance in defining the characteristics and should inform the design of new infill construction. New infill construction will reinforce historic significance of the Kenema Historic District. And again, I'm adding Kenema when they should just say historic. Infill buildings should relate to the strength and the core characteristics of a infill district as identified in the National Register Historic, the nomination statement of significance. And I had asked Denise, and she sent me information so I could go back and reread exactly why the statement of significance was set for Kenema. And as I go through these, but some of them are down through automobile, like number 12, automobile infrastructure garages should be appropriately concealed when not consistent with the historic district's architectural character. And so these types of things, when we have smart garages being configured by this is Carolyn. She's one of the neighbors in the historic district, living in, what date is your house?
Late 1800s.
1860s, 70s?
1890s.
Anyway, but the importance, we talk about this, those of us that are kind of preservationists in Kenema, and we're trying to come back and hopefully we could have a document or something simple that people could read easily and interpret when they're applying or looking at Kenema with infill. And it's been quite a problem. We're R6 zoned. We have R5 lots. So does that mean that you build authorized to build in an R6 zoned lot? Or R5 lot when you have R6 zoning? You know, there's all sorts of little questions, but most important is this document, this one page, that we want to summarize something, and all of the collective intelligence of this roundtable. And they spelled it down. They melted it down to these points, these principles. And I'm hoping that we could take and compare that to what we're doing here in Oregon City. Okay?
All right. Well, thank you. I do want to make a comment. I don't know if the board's going to be reviewing anything with infill, maybe in January, perhaps, for goals, possibly. And just one short comment. This is great. This is super what you did. It really is. It's cool. It's great. R6 is a blanket zone that the cities use today, and it's blanket over the entire city where there's gobs and gobs of 5,000-foot lots, but there are R6 zoning. And it wasn't always that way, but it has changed. So the parameters are different, the setbacks are different, and it's just an overlay. And so that applies to Kanema as well, and it's just part of it. So that's just something that popped in my head that I've dealt with zoning quite a bit, and you'll see R6 zone. There is no R5 zoning. It's, if I'm not mistaken, it's R6 mostly that
Actually,
blankets.
as part of the Park Place concept plan, we actually created an R5 lot, R5 zoning. We haven't applied it anywhere. The lots of record in Kanema are lots of record. They're 150-ish years old, but they're lots of record. They can be built upon, barring the overlays.
Oh, that's correct. So all those lots that are lots of record can be built on, but they'll have most likely an R6 zone.
Correct, and that's for setbacks. R6,
Setbacks.
the minimum lot standards are when you want to create new lots.
That's correct.
So
Yeah.
if you have 12,000 square foot lot in the R6 zone, you can have 2 lots. If
Two
you have
lots.
10,000 square feet in
You
an
can't.
R6 zone, you have 1 lot.
Between
Yeah.
my son and I, we have 23 lots in Kanema.
So there are
So start selling those things and start building.
Well, yeah, but some of them are like this.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
with creeks on them.
So that's some of that's a blessing. But I appreciate you guys coming in, and this is great. I've read through all of this.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, but I read this a couple
Yeah.
times, and this is great. So it's something we could potentially talk about as a board.
I have a question just for context. In Oregon, are there any other residential historic districts like Kanema in other cities?
Say here there's 123 National Register districts in Oregon. Now, of those 123, I don't know where they are.
Right, and I'm just wondering what percentage of them, because all the pictures in the document are of
Like a Portland.
right, of denser area, more commercial areas, and I was just
I think one way to look at what Mr. Egger is presenting is we are later in the business today going to briefly, I can give an update on where we are in our goals for this year, and kind of prime the pump over the next couple months to think about how we want to amend the goals in January. And I might be able to give a little context of how this compatible infill relates and some background relating to the 2006 design standards, and to kind of give you a little bit of understanding, but nothing really is going to be decided tonight. This is more of an update where we are in the goals process, and we every January update our 2-year goals. So right now we have a 2014-2015 work plan, and we'll have in January, February, we'll adopt a 2015-2016 work plan, and identifying the projects that have been completed and adding new projects to the list.
Okay. Well, thank you. Anything else, John? No. Thank you for coming in.
you.
Appreciate it. Did Derek say he would not be here tonight?
I have not heard from Derek.
Oh. Okay. All right. So, getting into our next item, which will probably take the bulk of our time, possibly. Policies,
Yeah.
historic review board,
And let me
fence policy.
Let me.
Oh, I had a timer going,
I was in
and I'm on silent. How about
Italy
that?
for a minute.
Okay, there we go.
How did that work?
oh, the clock overrides vibrate.
Oh, I've never had that before. That was kind of exciting, actually.
So my goal tonight is I briefly spoke about the fence policy of the Historic Review Board policies last meeting. What I'd like to do in the next 10, 15 minutes is just kind of lay out the items and the issues I see, and then really get direction from you about what you want to do for next steps. And once I kind of get clear direction, if there is going to be a specific change to the policy, then we will talk to both neighbor associations and do it at a future noticed meeting. So with nothing really is determined tonight, but what I'd like to get is if there's some specific direction from you, I'll know, and most likely we probably won't be formally doing anything till after the new year on this.
I read it a few times, and I didn't really have any problems.
If I can show you kind of where I think there's a little bit of hole in it, and I'd like to get further direction on.
Okay.
So if you look through, and this is more of how, and I think
Where are we?
I'm the one seeing this because I am
Presentation.
interacting with the public both in general public fence questions and how we interpret the historic policy, and when there's a gray area, and I'll show you where that is.
Okay.
So right now we talk about acceptable materials in front and corner side yards, and then we talk about acceptable materials in interior side yards, alley, and rear yards. I'd like to show you real briefly the fence code anywhere in Oregon City. This is generalized Oregon City Municipal Code 17.54 that someone calls up and wants to build a fence. The way we define it, if this is the house right here,
Yep.
everything in front basically of the foundation is considered the front yard. And you're allowed to have a 3.5-foot fence to the property line. Once you cross the plane of that foundation, everything to the side and rear can be a 6-foot fence. So you can have a 6-foot fence here.
He's talking
So
right
it's
here,
really
this
more of a
spot.
definition. If you go back, and actually one example, I'm going to show you 2 homes. This is one example of a home where not understanding exactly the definition of what is corner side. So you see here, this is just a random house I picked. It started its 6-foot fence about midway through the house out to the property, and actually they have it set back. Another house, for example, they've done a 6-foot picket all the way to the back, but here's the question: if they
6
came
6 foot.
in,
That's not 6
3.5-foot picket, sorry. If they came in and someone wanted to do a 6-foot fence starting here, a 6-foot. So today our city code allows the 6-foot fence to start here, right at the break and plane. What we don't have a very good definition of for the Historic Review Board fence policies is this area of the side corner that is behind the front plane of the house but before the end of the house. And because
I don't
the reason my question, and I'm back on.
Can we go to the picture of the house in
we're at
question?
Dairy Queen right now.
Oh, sure, we can do the house in question. But it kind of breaks to more of
You
a
want to have an ice cream?
the house in question that we discussed last month. It brought up the issue that we don't define the corner side yard as it is next to the frontage of the house. Our city code talks about it front plane, behind the plane, but the corner side, is it all the way to the back of the house? If it is to the back of the house, how do we just need to define it better in our fence policies was my main question, because it's unclear what exactly involves corner side yard.
Since I've seen that house, there's a house catty corner from me on Malala, Taylor, that has a vertical wood fence that goes from the house that takes care of the side yard and goes completely to the back, which is just like that one. And it's been like that for several.
Right, and so because fences don't require any building permits,
Right.
it's education on the property owner.
And whoever complains to
And
code
everyone complains,
enforcement.
and which is fine. We have policies about windows that don't require permits. We have policies about materials. But my bigger question is, in this gap between where our city code is about corner side being the threshold change between the front door and the side, what we don't do a good job is defining what corner side is for historic.
Right. Well, what
I think we have to be really specific, and then if there's a unique situation, give people an out to be able to come to the board to explain their situation. Because right now we have no out.
What I was going to say is I don't think it detracts from the house to have that type of fence. And we see them all over the city. And if we were to make a policy on it to not be all right, you're going to have complaints, cropping up for those that already have fences.
It's just that section where even on the rear property line, they can take a 6-foot fence right to the corner.
Potentially, yeah. So it's really this square that I'm circling right here.
Yeah, but
Is the question between the Historic Review Board fence policies and the city's fence policies.
but where it says rear yard from left to right, you can take that as 6
yeah,
foot.
so this
all-
can be 6 feet.
and all the way over to the street if that's a corner.
Right, but if you're going to have an enclosed yard, where are you letting people enclose it?
But that diagram is only showing the street on the front.
Right.
Portion
but
there.
if this was a corner side, the city code
If
lets
this
it
was a
happen.
street over here?
So it doesn't matter by city code. This is not, I'm putting my non-historic hat on.
Yeah.
Right.
If the street, imagine if the
That was
street
a
was right
street.
here, it's the same definition.
And we're talking, and we need to talk corner
Yeah, we
situations
do.
because that's where it comes up.
Yeah.
So the issue could be in a historic district, you could say on a corner lot that side has to be 3 to 5 feet, or you say do what you want, or it's a gray area, or it has to come to the board per thing, or it goes to staff.
But even if it's a 3 to 5 feet, my larger question, and this is maybe taking an extreme case, where do you allow the enclosure? I mean, do you say you can only enclose it to the back of the house? That's one.
Or
I
you
think,
set back off
extreme.
the property X amount of feet.
Right, and so I think that's fine to do that. I think,
Can you go back to the first?
Sure.
The first one you showed at the first house.
yeah, I think it's going to be very context specific. So there needs to be a way for people to pretty cheaply and easily come to the board for it.
But when you see that, that's a full height fence. That's
But-
probably
Right, and
Were
that's
you-
halfway through.
Were
the
you
house.
showing this as kind of a good example? Because it would, I mean, the front yard there is only like 10, 15 feet. And had that 6 foot fence been brought all the way to the front, it would have really, I think, probably dominated the house. Well, I guess if this was not a corner lot, they would be allowed to put the fence all the way to the front.
So there's many ways to look at this. One is just logistics of how do we want to define this question and
Okay.
how do we process it.
What
And
if
the
you-
other is the other is what's your policy generally about fences and relates to historic buildings.
What if you took that little section off that says 6 foot fence, but had some sort of thing saying on corner lots, staff review, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean I'm thinking more of a process question because I would hate to make every property owner, even this one, like if someone came in, if we said back of the house, then technically this is not meeting it because they're halfway through the side of this. So being kind of really strict and say you can only start your 6 foot fence once you've crossed the plane of the rear of the house. I know there's going to be lots of fences in the historic district that don't meet it, and maybe logistically it makes no
already
sense.
there.
Right. But the larger question is, I think, yes, there are, to Jonathan's case, if we bring it back to what the city policy is, there will be a couple of fences that may seem a little out of scale to the historic house. And I guess my question to the board is, you can already tell my opinion, which is I would rather have that and have them work on keeping the structural and historic and material integrity of the house than worry about how we're, as a board and a city, processing these small, non-permitted requests and how do we chase the education on that. So I'm happy to do what the board, and I'll enforce what the board is. There's just a conundrum of what exactly do you want and how do you want to educate and process it?
There are a couple things I'm struggling with as far as families moving in with small children, wanting to keep them
Or pets.
contain pets. It's
Yeah,
like-
people want enclosed yards.
And so I feel like this is another deterrent to buying a historic home if we put some kind of restriction on fences.
But in this example here, let's just say they built the 6 foot fence all the way to the front. So they have this side porch that wraps around to be a front porch. It doesn't make any sense architecturally
To put a fence.
to put a fence to that front post. But, I mean, are we willing to say, sure, fine, that's where you want to put your fence, even though it doesn't align with any of the architecture in this specific example?
It's that 90% of the people will do the right thing and 10% of the people will not. And are
Right.
we okay with dealing with the 10% of the people?
Right.
Can you pull up the house in question?
I can.
Or is that too much?
No, I can't. Give me 1 second.
That's a cool house.
I just realized when I did Molalla, I was. Oh, God, I did it again. It
Yeah,
keeps
isn't
bringing
that
up.
in Molalla?
Molalla.
But I clicked on Oregon City. South, that's why. Come on.
It popped up there, right? Oh, weird.
Well, anyway, let's just zoom in.
Just Zoomerama, baby.
Fine, I will not use the query button. This is what before the. This is showing the Google photo before the fence was put in.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
I'm going to wrap around and look up. So this is a unique one in the sense that it has a very large side yard, which is,
Yeah, the place
This
is
is the
slammed.
before picture, right?
Yeah,
here we
there's-
go.
Yeah. This is before they put the fence up, right there.
You're quite
So
good
they,
at this.
what?
You're quite good at this.
So they met the city code, which was they started the 6-foot fence right here at the plane and then went.
What does that sign say? Is that a business sign?
It was a business.
It was
sign.
appraisal or something, but I
Okay.
don't know if people are living there or just renting it for some cute little house.
It is.
The fence goes down here and then over.
Does it go in front or behind
Goes-
the hedge?
Goes
It goes
along the
no,
side.
the hedge. It goes. The hedge is gone.
The hedge is gone. It's fenced now. So it's, if I recall from the picture, remember it's right on the, then it's on the,
It's on the back of the sidewalk for the most part.
okay.
They pretty much they looked at the city code. I mean, this. We're not here to determine if this is appropriate, but this
No.
brought up the whole, which is we don't define that section of corner yard very well in our
Right.
code. So.
I just don't even want to mess with it.
So this is a question of, absolutely, can you go in and have a comment and say, well, maybe you foot it back a little bit, and maybe we say you need to be 3 foot this way. But my question is process-wise, and how do you educate people to come in to do a review? And I don't know on staff level if I can come up with a qualitative.
But how do you do that for the other fence requirements? For non?
clear, so everything's black and white, clear and objective.
But 100% of the time, no one's going to come into the city and say, hey, what can I do with my fence?
I know.
They just do it.
Right. So my
And-
problem is staff approval. It's harder. I can't be given gray area direction about a staff level approval of a fence location. That's my little worry.
I guess if someone came in to inquire about a fence that was beyond staff, you'd have to say it's got to come before the board. And then I think you have to remove that little clip about where the fence can go, and it's a case-by-case basis thing.
Well, can you say?
Well, it's true. Oh, sorry. Continue. Sorry.
Can you say something like it should be aesthetically harmonious to the? No.
That's too gray.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
like-
look at that. I can't do that.
Yeah, because the logical place for the fence in this would be at least to the backside of that
Yeah.
bay.
Yeah.
So you get corner exposure to the house because the house is designed as a corner house.
And the other thing is, on this particular case, the house is slammed all the way almost to the other side, and it gives a lot of side yards, so it makes sense they would do what they did.
Yeah.
But I think
To
if-
utilize the yard more.
if I was a betting man, I would take that little part of the fence code out, just remove it, and if somebody inquired about the fence,
The
Which
fence
part
policies.
are you talking about, John?
You mean the historic review board policies?
know that where you had the picture that showed the back section
Oh, for citywide, for all city codes. So put this into the policies.
where it says maximum height 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the districts you say something like that's gone, and you have to do a case by case
So let's take that down.
as
So
as a HRB gig.
Right. So I'm seeing this box right here. I mean, the way I have to clearly objective is it's back a house because you have to draw a box of where.
Yeah.
So one scenario is you do basically back a house, you get 6 feet. Anything between back of, between the front and the back rear side yard is in question.
You could do that too.
But I think if you do that, you're gonna get. We can do that. It's you do $50. They're going through a land use hearing.
Anything you do is just a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, we can. I mean, we can absolutely do that when to allow it, and maybe do some type of grandfathering existing situations.
And this is only for historically
Yes.
designated
yes.
homes.
So this is landmarks, historically designated properties in McLaughlin,
Can
or
you
all
change
properties
this?
in Kenema.
Do you have to go through a hassle to do something there?
Well, these are our policies. So the Historic Review Board policies on materials and location is over and above what's allowed citywide.
Citywide,
But
right, because
if
it's-
there's a change to our policy, what we do, let's just pretend we changed our policy somehow. We would work with the neighbors over the next couple months. We would propose red lines, and then we would adopt it at a meeting through resolution sometime in the spring.
That's just a bunch of bureaucratic.
That's the process
Yeah, I hear you.
to do it.
Wouldn't it be easier, because in some cases, like the first example you provided, the side yard, the proportion of the side yard and everything was appropriate for that 6-foot fence to come up to the backside of that porch, right? And given that the side yard and the front yard are similarly scaled, but in the sort of problem question, can't you say that the fence goes to the backside of the house, but if they want a 6-foot fence any more forward, then they would have to come in for a review?
Right. So we can do that. We'd have to. We create kind of fence code criteria of when we generally would be more likely. So they don't look like they look. There is a process and analysis of how we came up with that decision. So we'll create policies about when you're more likely to approve it or not approve it, so they don't feel like it's arbitrary and capricious.
What you could say is this is a standard. This is what for corner lots. This is the standard. If you want to go outside the standard, then it goes on a case by case basis.
Right. And so with the case by case basis, we have to still come up with criteria of when you're approving
Right.
it or not approving it. And then I would recommend that we grandfather existing conditions, because that would be a nightmare.
Whatever's the easiest.
Yeah, I think that would make it give them the option of looking at the standard and then be able to make the decision, do I want to pay $50? Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to enclose my whole yard? And then it'll give them the chance to visualize it with the standard way. And
Right, but on your end, is there ever going to be a time where you're going to say no, and what's your criteria for
the
saying no?
criteria would be the style of the fence, the appropriateness of where they're going to make the setback, what the style of the house, all that factors into
The character
it.
of the front yard.
Yeah, it all factors into it. And every one of those different things besides the standard is going to be different
Right.
based on the house.
Which is and that's been the trouble of clear and objective standards. So, I mean, obviously on the staff level, it's easiest to say, we're 80% or 90% of the people who do the right thing, and we're just going to deal with the 10% of the people who don't. And
Yeah.
then we won't have this process. Or we will have this process, and this is how we're going to educate, and this is how we're going to explain it.
But the thing is, we're not going to have this process unless somebody makes a complaint. Right.
True. But someone has. But
Well,
it
I'm saying that,
but it
but
opens
it's not
up
going to happen as much.
But-
as-
True, but it opens up a hole in how we interpret.
Or you just leave it status quo and let someone complain once in a while and be done.
yeah, but see, we haven't
But if they
resolved
complain,
anything.
then we have to make.
We have to resolve something because somebody's made a complaint. And we
They've
don't have a-
complained, but there's code that backs up what
And
they
we could
have.
ask them
So
to move it, or we could ask them to come in. I think we haven't done a very good job explaining it for the people that have.
but there's
tried.
no reason for them to move it. There's no reason for them to change it because they followed the code.
They followed the city
But not the historic.
code, but they read the historic
home
code, and they thought that they were meeting both of them, because we don't explain it very well in how we do the policies.
Right, and that was the fault of this.
So
Code.
someone could complain about this house and have the same problem. but someone isn't gonna because they probably thought,
Because it
oh,
looks good.
this looks good, and there's landscaping in front of it, so I'm good with it. So it's like
I think
damned if
we
you do
should,
and damned if you
So
don't.
what I'm hearing from everyone is you don't know, which is fine.
I
No,
don't
I
know.
do. I
You do?
do. I think that we should have
Whatever
a
Cindy says.
standard in there that says this is the standard. If you want to deviate from the standard, then you pay $50 and come bring it before the board. That's it.
That's fine, but 90% will do what's right, 10% will not,
That's right.
and they'll just keep doing it until someone complains.
That's right. But at least it'll be in there, and at least it'll be clear.
You could do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
I mean, it's going to be a couple months process, and we'll bring it back, and we'll have because I need to.
And you might have these guys here that might
Yeah.
have a different opinion too.
Right.
So that's all good.
So what I'd like to do is just kind of continue putting this on the.
I say we
agenda.
table it till the next time we talk about it, and at that time we table it again. And keep it going, okay?
So is it something that maybe table in January for our work program that can either be
With
voted
the-
on
with
to
the new
pursue or
crop
not
of
to pursue?
people.
Sure.
Okay. But I just wanted to do a better job explaining than last month. So I don't
Yeah.
quite
Oh, sure.
explained what I felt that the conundrum was.
Yeah, you don't want it to reel its head. Keep
No.
reeling it. Okay. Are we groovy?
We're groovy.
So we can do this in the next 10 minutes or so?
We can.
Or less?
Yeah. I just wanted to give everyone an update of everything because we have a lot of things to check off our list. And so the next item, I'm going to hold on one second.
Legislature policies. Communication.
So in January, we'll be looking at our 2015 goals. So I just wanted to really briefly give you updates because we have about 3 or 4 of them that we actually may cycle off.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought we can give you kind of end of the year updates, and just so this also will give you a chance to mull over these items as we come back in January. As you know, we've continued to do our Preservation Month contest. That's number 1. We are working on number 2, our certified local government grant. Actually, I'm just about to release a RFP request, not really an RFP, but a bid request for graphic designers to put together the homeowner education packet and the historic pamphlets for the elevator, library, and promenade. So hopefully, those are 2 separate projects. One is taking the National Register nominations for the 3 city buildings and turning that with photos and text into a nice folded 11 by 17
Nice.
pamphlet
Oh.
that you can read. So, the idea is that will be 11 by 17 so it can easily be copied by lots of people. And you can fold it and be in the elevator. It can be downtown. The Carnegie, you could have it in the Carnegie, and it could be updated when the Carnegie gets edition. But so that will happen, as well as a nice. We've had over the years some pretty badly designed homeowner, and badly designed means I did it, homeowner education letters and packet information over the last 10 years. So I'd like to take a lot of that out of the Historic Review Board policies and what does it mean to be a historic property owner and the kind of the welcome wagon packets you get, and just have it redesigned so it's really user friendly. So that's the second packet for a designer to do.
I have a question about these packets. Can they go to real estate offices?
Yeah, absolutely. But the idea is it's kind of the same thing. Like it's an easy to read, maybe.
Right, but before they're asked for, I
Right,
mean, they have
yeah.
them at their disposal.
But what I'd like to do is it's kind of already pre-assembled. So maybe it's 2 11 by 17s and a couple of insert pages, but they can exist. Like this is for new homeowners, and it can just kind of exist and be
Well,
printed out
especially
pretty
if
easily.
a realtor sells them.
Yeah, and we do have a program where I get a quarterly printout from GIS when a historic home has changed hands, and I
Cool.
email that to the new owner.
Very good.
So they're just ugly and old, and I want to.
Yeah.
We've
Out of
gotten a
date.
grant
They're
to
out of
make
date.
it visually appealing and exciting, and to congratulate people for owning homes and make them feel proud.
Yes, you make
and
them
part
feel
of
welcome.
Yeah. So that is happening, and I will give you more updates
Good.
on that.
There's probably a service that you can use, like I can imagine, like Trulia or something, where you can just define a district and it'll email you. And there must be something that's more frequent than quarterly. That's like
Oh, but see, I find out because it's tagged in our GI. This is only when historic homes change hands. So you also get a print. I mean, any realtor knows in the Oregon City area, you print out your property zoning report on our website, and it says right there if you're in a historic home. Also, funny enough, because we have actual pages on our website for each historic home, if you just Googled like 123, 8th Avenue, and that was a landmark building. it's going to show up on a web search, which is great. So that's been getting people pretty quickly finding the, Jane and Mervyn Smith house will show up when you do that search. So I'm hearing less and less of people not knowing they bought an historic home. Technology is helping with that. But barring a deed restriction, which is actually sounds like not allowed through owner consent and too financially infeasible, we have to rely on education and then these kind of welcome wagon packets. But yes, working with realtors exactly and having them printed off and easy to use is our goal.
Cool.
So number 3 actually is done. The CLG grant program paid for the elevator, Carnegie, and Promenade to be listed on the National Register in June. The owners of the Masonic building chose not to go forth with the National Register listing, but we do have the National Register nomination is done for that building, and actually the keeper of the Secretary of Interior identified that it was eligible. So that's like a step below actually nominating it. So if any future owner wants to, it really is pretty easy now to nominate it because it's been deemed eligible at the Fed in Washington, D.C. It was removed before it actually became listed.
Do you have a sense that the work that's currently being done would affect its...
I don't get involved in the interior of the building, so I don't know.
Keep rocking.
So number 4 actually has been on hold for the last 6 months, but I'm just meeting with our GIS specialist, Chris Dunlap, who's going to continue to work on a new, really user-friendly GIS mapping platform that they'll be able to use that and kind of just like Google Maps, be able to click on any building and the survey form will come up. So we're getting closer to that as a solution. That's all the surveys, including the big 2011 citywide survey with the 3,000 surveys. So we should have up to, I think, 4,000 properties have their surveys easily accessed by clicking on a GIS program soon. So let's see. 5 are D-list landmarks that have irretrievable loss of integrity. Was a recommendation of Diana Painter during our 2001 resurvey, and it's still there. It's just going to take a little bit of work and has been put off for time. We are a Heritage All-Star community, and we have opportunities for future grants, so I'll always keep up. We also kind of are, and myself and my position is here to help strengthen communication between different heritage groups in Oregon City and try to do more collaborative heritage projects. So being an all-star community is kind of one of those goals, is how can we leverage our skill sets in our groups. Number 7, I'm happy to announce that the Planning Commission recommended approval for the Willamette Falls Master Plan 7.0, handed it to the City Commission on October 15th. They approved the first reading of the rezone and the master plan ordinance, and it is being presented for second reading this next Wednesday, November 5th. And I wanted to kind of give you a little next steps. With the rezone, the property will be rezoned to Willamette Falls Downtown District. It's a new mixed-use district that allows some compatible light industry, has a master plan that has conditions of approval for future detailed development plan that'll come in at some time with the new owner or future developers on that site. But what we really are doing as public entities through the Legacy Project is repositioning to move forward on the Riverwalk. And that's that linear open space and active ped and bike trail all along the Willamette. We are moving actually with Metro on a request for proposal qualifications next month for a design team for a schematic design of the Riverwalk. So this next year you'll see a reboot of the public engagement process for Riverwalk design. And one of the key pieces of the Riverwalk design is that all 4 values are part of the design of the Riverwalk, so cultural and historic interpretation, habitat, access, and economic development. So as we move forward, how do we design this so the Riverwalk in itself is telling the cultural and historic story? It's not just you walk and you read a informational board. Like, how do we actually weave in historic and cultural interpretation into the Riverwalk design and construction and future programming? So I'll be continuing to bring the board in and update them on where they are and different ways you can plug into that process. I also wanted to pass this. I only have one, but this is the new marketing campaign flyer. Because along with the schematic design, we're also trying to raise a lot of money to build the Riverwalk. And Clackamas County has graciously been paying Ball Janik lobbyists in D.C. to meet with different federal agencies on where our project can fit within their different grant programs. And this is some of the informational brochure along with that big, beautiful vision document that was adopted by resolution by the commission and city commission last meeting in October 15th. And so that is kind of where you'll see us really be pivoting this next year is fundraising and preliminary design of the Riverwalk this next year. So. And that is all I have for updates.
Okay.
So,
Can we break?
we break, and then we could, if we wanted to, our applicants are here. We could hear the
preservation grant?
preservation, and then close and eat at the end
Okay.
of the meeting. That would be helpful.
Yeah, because we could do this lickety-split.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's keep the meeting open. We'll jump down to
Preservation.
Apologize. I wasn't quite ready, so give me one moment. I was going to open this up.
Can I say it?
To the meeting.
You want to wait?
All right, so here we are for all recall preservation grant program. We have the ability to give out 5 $1,000 grants this year. We also approved at the summer meeting to vote on waiving the requirement for applicants who have received an application within the previous 3 years to allow them to reapply as a test for this year. The applicants in front of you, Ms. McKenzie, she actually and her partner were here in 2009. Is that right? I think so. For a previous, so
It's
they've
2009.
actually passed the
Yeah.
previous one, but they're back. And if people were here, you'll remember what was approved was a sliding glass window, a sliding glass door on the north elevation. But what project was left off was this kind of door to nowhere that had used to be for egress access when this was a convalescent home. And as part of their rehab project, they're looking at removing the door, putting back a wood window and with siding to match, and removing this kind of now a balcony, but before was a actual egress stair. So that is their application tonight. They do have a specific exception because they're already working with their contractor that did not get 2 bids. So that's something the board will need to look at tonight. The bid that was proposed, is that adequate? Are there any conditions to that bid? And as always, as with the last application that we had where they were kind of in the middle of a larger project, no work done prior to tonight is eligible for the grant.
You're looking for $1,000.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to come on up, I'm going to go back to this photo.
Miss McKenzie, I'm quite certain that at this point you've had all 6 of my kids.
Well, and I'm substituting, so
Yeah.
I have.
You have Bliss.
Is he the one?
He's
yeah.
a 6th grader.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
I think
did.
you asked if I was still on the board. He's like, Dad, I don't know. Are you still on the board? I said, yes, I am.
I did, and I said, and he said, I don't know. He's in so many meetings. I don't know what he's doing. So,
Well, you've definitely had the 6th and final one. So
they were
Yeah.
all delightful kids. Honestly, they were.
You don't have to butter them up.
No.
They are. They're great kids.
Well, they're delightful for someone. So okay. Well, go ahead and tell us. You want to eliminate the door.
Yes. Currently, they're working on the inside, trying to make it into another 2 bedrooms up there and a bath.
And that's to be a closet, right? So you just have a look,
Yes.
like a little
And it
window.
would just, on the opposite side of that door is another little window, kind of like the one on that side. So we just
Yeah.
kind of want them to match on the back side, and
You guys, you can, I can't tell from that door, but you'll be able to match the crown and stuff like that on that window and all that stuff. Okay.
the person who's working even on the inside and has removed all the crown and the molding and has preserved it, and will put it back up in places around the area, and they'll do the same with that, I'm sure.
Gotcha.
So, but before that door, I wonder, was there another window like that on the other side?
No, it looks like there was a
Probably.
a bracket.
There's a knee brace. that
There was a
there.
knee brace that was removed, and I believe that's what they want to put back in as well.
Put a little window back in there like the other one?
Just copy
Correct.
it.
Just
Bring it
yeah,
back,
just
right?
match
Yeah,
it on
that
each
would look
side.
balanced and, yeah.
Yeah, it would look great. Does anybody have any issues with it?
Not at all.
Does anybody want to make a motion on this?
I move to approve this document, this
Grant request.
grant
It's-
request.
It's
Number
1402.
You're like all over the place there. No, it's going to be here.
1402.
Preservation. PG.
staff report.
There you go, right there.
PG 14-02.
Would someone like to second that?
Sure.
Can we call for a
Right.
vote?
A vote. I'll have to go with the second. Jonathan,
Yes.
Cindy Toll,
Aye.
Chair McLaughlin.
Aye. Motion
Right.
passes. Good luck. Keep going.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, take
Thank
some
you very
city
much.
money.
I'll give you a sign to put up, and then turn in your W-2, and that's the
Yeah, I got the W-2.
great.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, now we're going to break.
Actually, we can adjourn.
Thank you for doing this earlier.
You bet.
Oh, actually, no. I can.
We have to be
We
here.
have because I have to continue it. No one is coming tonight, so we
Do
can
we
actually.
don't have
move-
to, I asked you before, we don't have to
we
read
just
the
have
thing.
to open it up and continue it, so we can do this right now.
So we can open up the meeting. Well, the meeting's still open.
Right. So open the open the
Where is it?
the land use file. So technically, we're opening the
So
record
we-
of the land use file.
We're opening up the land use file, but it's PC 14-132, a request for continuance of HR 1409 modification to reduce the height of a previously approved request for new construction in the McLaughlin Conservation District. So we're asking for a continuance. Do we need to call for a vote?
Yes, I'd like to move this to the November HRB meeting. That would be November.
The question to that would be, would people be here?
Right. So that's my second question: is do we have a quorum for that?
I will be
meeting?
here.
Next
The
month?
the Tuesday of
Tuesday
Thanksgiving
before
week.
Thanksgiving.
Yes, I'll be here.
I will be on a plane to Phoenix.
And Bob's gone.
Bob's gone.
we
but
don't-
so we got to know if
We don't know about
Derek's
Derek.
Okay. So right now we have to do it to a date certain.
I would say a date certain would be November 25? Is it 25th?
Question is they really need to, even if we have a special meeting,
Right now, we can't call for
and
a
we
special
can't call
meeting.
a special meeting.
It's got to be a date certain being
Right.
the 25th.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just doing a mental math. If Mr. Medson is not able to make it on the
Yeah.
25th,
And we don't have a quorum,
We
and it
don't
goes
have-
to the next.
right? No, I know.
But isn't that what would
November
that be the
25th
steps?
says.
Well, my question, I was going to tell Todd Island tomorrow if there was going to be a quorum tonight, because if not, we might have to have a special meeting on the November 18th, which would be the Tuesday before.
If we had to, I
Yeah.
don't think I have. I don't. That's a board meeting for me and West Lynn.
Okay.
But I don't. I'm 99.9% sure there's nothing, so it wouldn't be a problem. But we don't know from Derek.
Right.
So let me ask you this: do you
Are
put
you
it
here
for
on the
that
18th?
date? Oh yeah, are you here on the 18th? We could solve this right now.
Oh, my phone is dead.
I don't get to go anywhere.
Here, the question is
Available.
Do you want to be here? That's the
18th.
question.
Yeah, no, I can do 18th.
So us three could do it
So
on the 18th.
I would say probably the recommendation is do a date certain of the 18th, and we can move it to
Okay.
the 25th. Here's my question: Would you rather do the 18th for
Yeah.
the November meeting?
I have people
Anyway?
coming in
Yeah,
for that
Thanksgiving
weekend.
week is hairy.
Yeah.
I
So
don't wanna
let's
deal
just
with it.
do it to the 18th.
Okay.
And then that's the November meeting.
Fantastic.
Okay. Then I can notice tomorrow. And,
Is there anything, Christina, that
out here,
somebody's here?
another group is taking this. Hold on. Maybe we can do it.
The day is?
Was that somebody telling you that that's not?
Oh.
Renee, who does every meeting. Is
Oh yeah, who else has that night?
Well, somebody probably has a room for something.
We could go somewhere else.
You meet in the
Doing it during
library.
Thanksgiving week would blow.
It does. I don't understand why they schedule anything for that week.
It's
Yeah,
Todd.
I was like, what are my cheapest flights? So,
Well, it's this-
Tuesday night was the cheapest one I can get out on. So
Well, the building we approved for the 2-story on 7th,
it's going down to 1 story.
now they're going from 3 to 2 to 1.
Yeah.
So that's what they want.
That, wait a minute, which building is that?
The Olson Pharmacy thing.
Really?
Yeah.
He wanted
So-
to put the doctor's office upstairs and then retail downstairs.
I don't know what's going on. I guess I don't know, but
What prompted
So
the
apparently there's no meeting on Monday the 17th here.
Monday
that
the
work?
17th?
oh, let's do that. But is there any other items for next month?
Just the continued
Just
item.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do
Oh,
that.
well, actually, and maybe an update from the Carnegie Library folks.
They'd have to do that on the 17th,
They can do whenever they want.
but we don't want to meet.
But we
on
don't
the
want to meet
22nd.
any other time except the 17th.
Yeah.
They want to do they want to do a November design advice again.
They do?
So what you're saying is you want to have 2 meetings
No, I want to have them come the time that we do.
if they can,
Yeah, yeah.
and get it both done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I think this thing should go fairly quickly.
Right, right.
So if that works for the 3 of
Yeah,
us
the
at a
17th
minimum.
works for me. Does the
let's-
17th work
Let's
for
do
you?
Monday the 17th.
We can do it at 6 o'clock if that's a better time, or 7 o'clock a better
I'd rather
time.
do 6 and get
Get out.
Okay. So right now, unless determined, we have a date certain of November 16th.
17th.
17th.
November 17th.
Do we have to vote on that or make a motion? Or?
Sure.
So we make a motion to change the date for certain from November 25th to November
17th.
17th at 6 o'clock.
HRB meeting.
So that's a motion.
I second.
So we call for a vote.
Jonathan Stone,
Yes.
Cindy Toll,
Aye.
Chair McLaughlin.
Aye.
Fantastic.
Motion
Okay.
passes.
Then I
So-
can put the new notice in, and everyone's happy, and we're all good.
And they have to come here regardless. So we can now close this
can close.
meeting.
Yep.
And we're done.
We are
and
done.
we can go eat and then go home.
Yep.
Man, that's super fantastic.
I love it.
So, I've never been educated on the yes versus I.